Hi, folks. This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. for the Institute for Dialectical Meta-Realism. Let me mention something unrelated first. Uh, I just had a problem with the Windows update. So if you are on Windows and it's telling you to update, take a close look at it. Most likely, it is telling you to update to Windows 11. So if you are on Windows 10 and you don't want Windows 11, you need to block it. There are numerous ways of blocking it, doing a Google search, and you'll find out what they are. I felt I needed to say that because I started this podcast, and then immediately this thing popped up, and I saw that I was scheduled for an update to Windows 11 in 2 hours. Okay, so that's why I made that brief statement. I'm hoping that what I did works. I don't know yet. I'm going to read uh, a brief thing, a comment that I made to Kyle Kulinski, who was the host of the Secular Talk podcast, and he was discussing the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, sanctions, and the 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 problem with what he was saying. And look, I like Kyle. Kyle's a nice guy. I don't often agree with him because he's not a communist, but I think he means well. That's my impression. He means well, but he doesn't understand, for example, why Bernie Sanders is not coming out and directly supporting the BDS movement. I don't know why he doesn't understand it. So this is what I wrote in response to Kyle. So I will be turning away from the webcam and reading you what I wrote. I said, I am a commie, a Maoist third worldist, so I have never been a so-called Bernie bro. I certainly never put Sanders or any politician on a pedestal. Sanders has been a politician for a long time, so he tries to walk the Democratic line, even though he is not officially a Democrat. Though he did run for president twice, or tried to run for president twice as a Democrat. Why would someone expect anything else? BDS is a progressive, not a leftist proposal. Factually, boycotts almost never work. The solution is the end of the dominance of empire, the capitalist world system. So that's my response to what Kyle said. Um, I really don't know what else to say to him. Um, Obviously, he's entitled to his own point of view, but what confuses me is not the fact that he has the point of view he has, which obviously he has every right to have. And I respect the guy, but I don't understand why um, there seems to be an inability, not only by him, but by a lot of people, to realize that Bernie Sanders is a politician. I mean, the reason why he got as far as he got in the Senate is because he's a politician. He is doing what politicians need to do. Let me take my glasses off. Um, and that is, he is walking the line as close as he possibly can. Um, would he rather say something else? I don't know. I can't read his mind. Uh, I don't know if he supports the BDS movement, but is simply afraid to say so. But again, boycotts generally do not work. They don't work. I was a part of one back in 1968 and 1969 when I was involved in the New Left. And what we did is we were trying to get people to boycott California grapes as a way of placing ourselves in solidarity with Cesar Chavez and the Migrant Workers Union. The boycott failed miserably. In fact, the conditions for migrant workers, Mexican migrant workers in California, are worse now than they were back in the late 60s. So it's not that our boycott backfired. It didn't backfire. It just didn't work. So if people think that the BDS thing is going to work, I would suggest they take a look at history. If they do, they will find out what I'm saying is true, that boycotts simply do not work. And so all of the hand wringing, not understanding why Sanders is not supporting BDS is odd. I mean, do people not realize who he is? I mean, he may be a quote unquote progressive, whatever that is. I'm not a progressive, I'm a commie. But he's a politician too. So if you happen to be a progressive, and I have never been one, so I can't put myself in your shoes, then you need to realize that even though Bernie Sanders is a progressive, or at least he says he is, and I guess he is also a politician. In other words, he is wearing two sets of shoes and having to walk in both of them. And that must be a really, really difficult task for him. I do not envy Bernie Sanders at all. I would not want to be him. Well, for a variety of reasons. One, because I'm not a social democrat like Sanders, and also because I don't think that politics is the answer to our problems. You can't solve a broken capitalist system through politics. You can't put a band-aid on capitalism and expect capitalism to get better. It won't. The only solution is to replace the capitalist world system with a communist world system. And that will ultimately happen by the third world. The third world will need to initiate it because the first world has virtually no, I'm not going to say no, but virtually no dialectical or revolutionary potential. Maybe a better word is insufficient. Insufficient dialectical or revolutionary potential to accomplish the task of having a revolutionary struggle for socialism and communism. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but I think it's based upon recent events, revolutions that we have seen recently, like, for example, in Iraq, in Mexico, which have shown that there is dialectical potential in the third world. Now, does that mean everywhere in the third world? No. I mean, I have no idea if it's everywhere, but I think that there is dialectical potential in certain parts of it. And that is the only hope that we have. We certainly can't put our hope on the beast, on the US, and on the legs of the beast that constitute NATO and Israel and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is not where our hope lies. We can't expect the US and NATO to resolve our problems for us. To expect Bernie Sanders, who is a Democrat in all things but name, I mean, he ran twice for president as a Democrat, or tried to get the nomination twice as a Democrat. He actually promised, I remember, that he would become a Democrat the first time he tried to win the nomination. Now, after the nomination process was over, he didn't fulfill that promise. And I remember that. I will always remember that. Now, do I care? No, because I'm not a Democrat. But I remember that he said he would become a Democrat, which he never did. So, is he an honest man? Well, not in that particular case, no. Maybe he's honest in some other ways. But in terms of his promise to become a Democrat, which he never fulfilled, that is not honesty. I have nothing against the man. I'm sure he has a lot of really good qualities. I'm sure in many ways he is very sincere and he is doing his best, perhaps, in the context of the empire to fix the empire, which literally makes no sense to me. But again, Bernie Sanders is not a Marxist. Bernie Sanders, in spite of using the word revolution in his campaign slogan, is not a revolutionary. He said after he lost the nomination the first time that the revolution will continue. What the heck does that mean? Revolutions don't continue. They are quick. They are sudden. Something that continues is called evolution, not revolution. That is where Edward Bernstein broke with Marx and broke with Red Rosa Luxemburg by by developing what he called evolutionary socialism. And really, Bernie Sanders is virtually the return. I was going to say reincarnation, but I don't want people to think I believe in reincarnation, which I don't, but the return of Edward Bernstein. Um, so please, please be realistic, be honest, look at the situation. Be if you like Bernie Sanders, fine. Then be empathetic with him. Realize the situation that he is in, that he can't do more than what he is doing. Literally, he is doing all he can. And so if you think that Sanders is going to do more than he has, you are really, really stretching your expectations. I'm amazed, honestly, that he has gone as far as he has. Um, he is really taking a risk on his political career. And even if he were not, okay, say he suddenly advocated the BDS movement, what difference would that make? I don't see what difference it would make. Would that suddenly make the US buy into the BDS movement? Of course not. Of course not. So, I wish people would get their feet on the ground and begin looking at the world as it is, not as they wish it would be. In other words, abandon ontological idealism, which Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels rejected, and accept ontological realism. In other words, begin to see things realistically. And Kyle Kulinski, I respect you. I really respect you. You're a really smart guy. I enjoy listening to your commentaries. I find you to be a very informed 35-year-old man. I'm a lot older than you, at almost 68, and I admire your intelligence. But think about what you are saying carefully. There is no way that Bernie Sanders can do what you are asking him to do, because if he did, his political career would literally be over. And so, again, I hope that people will realize that and stop putting these ridiculous expectations on a human being. He is not a Superman. He is just an ordinary human being like you and I. He can't go beyond certain limits. We all have to work within certain bounds, like you do. For example, you are bounded, as I am, as a podcaster, by the rules that YouTube has established. Maybe you would like to say certain things, but you can't say them because YouTube would not allow you to say them. I am in the same situation. There are certain things maybe I would like to say, but I can't say them on YouTube. I say them in my books. I don't say them on YouTube. Why? Because I know the rules of YouTube and I accept TOS, terms of service. I know what the terms of service of YouTube are and I respect them. Whether I agree with them or not is inconsequential. I respect them. So we need to respect, in effect, the terms of service that Bernie Sanders is operating under. And those terms of service would simply not allow him to advocate for BDS. For the time being, again, this is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Meta-Realism. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.